Howdy folks, I'm Glossy Greater Stitchwort, gently stitching giant shimmering shawls.
I'm Amber.
And here are more giant shimmering shawls for us to stitch together. So let's do that. Or read some Reddit, your choice. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I the Jerk? Realtor wants me to clean up my front yard. Am I the jerk here? So, the house directly across the street from me was just listed for sale the other day. Currently, no one lives there because the previous owner passed away, so his family is selling it. The realtor came over to my house today and introduced himself, and then asked me if I could please clean up my front yard while she had it listed to make it easier for her to sell. I appreciated the difficulties of surviving on commissions. My mom was a realtor my whole life. I know that it can get tough sometimes to make ends meet, but I'm not cleaning up my yard just to make her life easier. First off, my yard isn't dirty. There aren't piles of trash everywhere or anything like that. I have lots of plants in the ground and in pots and several trees. There's some yard art in designated planting areas, and it's full, some might say cluttered, but that stuff isn't going anywhere. But I'm thinking what she is probably talking about is my driveway. For some context, my property is tiny, and the majority of it is on a downward slope, except for the first part of my driveway. It's sort of like a sidewalk upside down L shape. That's literally only largish 10 by 12 flat area on my property. So I regularly bring projects there to work on. Currently, I have a stack of lumber that was just delivered yesterday for a fence that I'm building this weekend. I'm straining each board first. Oh, they must mean staining.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what is straining a board? All I could imagine was like them like poking holes in them and then like running water through them. I don't know. I don't know what straining is supposed to mean for a board. I'm staining each board first. So there's 2 big sawhorses with 10 boards on them at a time while I stain, and a tarp underneath of it. And that's just my current thing. I'm almost always doing something, usually something much smaller. But why pretend like it's not always like this, to some degree? I'm the one who's going to have to live across from this person. She's not. So I would rather have someone move in that isn't bothered by my projects than have someone who will complain about them. So am I the jerk here for not making the realtor's job easier for her? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. I mean, this is your property, and like you said, this is how it normally is. It's not like I feel like home buyers need an honest idea of what the neighborhood they're moving in is going to be like, not just everyone's on their best behavior so the house will sell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just it. Is like OP isn't trying to paint a false impression. And like also it's really rude to be like, oh, can you take your own time, resources, and energy to clean up your yard, which isn't really dirty, it's just cluttered, right? And I mean, again, I think that OP brings up a really valid point. Like, why would they want to have the house sold to somebody who thinks that the neighborhood is this perfect, idealistic version of it, only to find out that, oh, yeah, we got a neighbor who's always working on projects and always hauling things out to the front of their yard. That's not fair to the potential future buyer, and that's not fair to OP. So I think if the realtor really wants things cleaned up that badly also, then maybe they should offer to pay for any cleaning services. Though I don't know. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And TechnoCore says, since the realtor is engaged in a for-profit transaction that they want your help with, I would think that the conversation would start with, what will your profit be from that transaction? And third one, 38, says, in the interest of honesty, you should keep everything exactly the same. So they will know that they have a neighbor that is, what, improving their fences? Totally ignore the realtor, not the jerk. And Queen Surly says, not the jerk. If I were house hunting, and the house near one of the ones that I was looking at had a project going on, I would consider that a positive, as it shows the neighbors are investing in their homes. If you don't have rusting appliances and cars on blocks in the front yard, and old sofas on the porch, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it boils down to. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I File a Formal Complaint Against an International Student in My Master's Program? I'm a 38-year-old female, and I'm the only American in this program. The program is in Europe. Everyone else in the program is either from India or Africa. There are obviously a lot of cultural differences, most of which are fine, even great. However, there has been a persistent and blatant sexist behavior from several of the guys. There is one in particular that I'm at my wit's end with. Another girl and I have been appointed the class reps. The job is essentially to be a liaison between the staff and the students, hold forums, take feedback, and give feedback and suggestions to the staff and report back on progress. During training, we were given strict instructions on what is and not within our realm of what we can and can't do. Our role was communicated during orientation, via email, when we were nominating class reps, etc. However, multiple of the guys took this to mean that we were obligated to be their stand-in mothers, party planners, and secretaries. We were getting people in our faces demanding to know why we hadn't sent out instructions on what they should be doing every day, telling them when and where to be for different events, reminding them of assignment deadlines, reading and editing their assignments, planning get-togethers, and cooking and cleaning for everyone, etc. It was so shocking to me the first time that this happened that I literally had no idea what to say. I just stood there with my mouth open for several seconds. No amount of setting boundaries was working. They just got more aggressive with their demands. We spoke with the staff and they were horrified. Staff called a meeting where the head of the department, a man, was very direct and said that these girls aren't your mothers. You are grown men and are expected to keep up with your own timetables, and no one should be reading and editing anyone else's assignments. You should be all contributing to plans, etc. They then sent out an email in writing, and I also was personally sent a text. This stopped a great deal of it. Some of the guys even started keeping the others in check. A couple of them seem to have really grown throughout the year. Others still are at it. One in particular has not stopped. Every time anyone suggests doing anything, he tells us to plan it. We always say no and invite him to do so. During group work, he will not keep notes, facilitate anything, etc. if there is a woman in the group, even though we are all specifically instructed to rotate tasks. Again, I have directly addressed this and also literally sat and just refused to be the one who takes notes, and he has kept pushing the papers towards me. I got up and I left the room. So apparently, there have been numerous general complaints against more than one of the guys, including by the member of the staff who was apparently harassed. So, the head of the entire business school came by and spoke to the entire cohort before a study trip this week, reminded everyone that they signed a contract before registration saying that they will not engage in certain activities, and that any other complaints will start putting individuals into formal process and discipline. Well, this guy did it again on the trip. We were at the formal dinner the school put on, and was loudly complaining about his meal, which he does every meal. And someone said something to him about this being the last meal together, and he was like, no, it's not, and told me to plan something for next month, and to make sure that he had jollof rice. I said that I'm not willing to do anything that you aren't willing to do. He said it's my obligation, I'm a rep. And I said, no, it's not, and that's been explained to you multiple times in multiple ways. Then another guy came in and literally took a bite of my rice off my plate. I ordered fish, which came with rice, and none of the other dinners did. I swatted his hand away and said, excuse me. And then he left, but then came back later and saw that I had finished my meal and said, selfish, and then left the dinner. Some of the other students are always dismissing this behavior due to the cultural differences, but in my opinion, it's extremely unacceptable and has been addressed multiple times and has made the whole experience so awful and intolerable for me. I can't imagine these guys going out into the workplace and continuing this behavior. I feel like I want to make a formal complaint, but I know this would result in disciplinary action. Will I be the jerk? Update, I submitted a formal report. Now we wait to see what happens. All right, folks, what do you think?
Absolutely not the jerk. Good on OP for submitting a formal complaint. These men have been repeatedly told that you cannot treat other people this way, and they continue to violate that. You should not accept being treated as less than fully human because you're concerned about what their futures are. They are the ones who are putting their own futures in jeopardy by treating you this way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is not OP's problem at this point in time. OP didn't make the decision for them to act like this. The OP is not responsible for their behavior. And that's what's being hammered home over and over and over again, right?
Right. And I mean, if they cannot pull their acts together in a graduate program, what are they going to be like in the workforce?
Yeah.
Like, we do not need these kind of guys going out there and bossing around and bullying and harassing the women in their lives.
Yeah, plus, I was reading a lot of comments on this. I posted this to Instagram a little while ago, and a lot of people were like, yeah, this isn't cultural. I'm from the same kind of regions as these people. This is completely unacceptable,
Well, I
right?
think that's a very important point is a lot of times people like to pass off their entitlement and their bad behavior as, oh, it's just my culture or it's just this or it's just that. And that is not, one, generally true and also not an excuse.
Yeah. So I think that this is, again, just something that they're saying so that they can, skirt consequences or try to skirt consequences. And OP absolutely needs to report them. If they don't, get a correction now, if they aren't, directed in a better path now, then this is going to be miserable for any people that they work with in the future. They need to learn that this behavior isn't acceptable, and they need to know that they can't get away with this kind of stuff. And if they continue to suffer no consequences for this kind of behavior, then there's no disincentiveness, I know that's not a word, to stop them from, basically continuing to act this way. So the buck stops here. I think that OP did the right thing, and I hope that they do suffer consequences because they need to learn that this isn't good to do, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Letting My Girlfriend Use My Phone to Help Her Temporarily Cheat in Order to Help Pass a Really Important Class? So my girlfriend is currently in college courses trying to get her BA. She needs to get a language credit, so she has been going through American Sign Language 1. Things were going really well at the beginning, but then started getting harder for her to translate what they were saying when watching people use sign in a video. She asked me if she can use my phone, since I guess there's an app that is Android only, to just be told by the app what they are saying instead of looking it up any other way. She said that this would only be temporary and being only able to just figure out what they are saying, and it will help her catch on and actually learn. I didn't really agree with that thinking, and I told her that it would be better to find another way to figure it out that doesn't involve just using AI to tell her what's being said. I've taken college language courses, and I know how hard it is and how much you need to focus and stay consistent. She got a little upset and said that it was weird that I didn't want her to use my phone for that. Am I the jerk for not letting her use that app on my phone even though she needs to pass this class to move on? Edit, a number of people have brought up points that made me realize that I left out some key details. There's more that's happened in the situation, and a lot more in the relationship as far as dynamics go. When she asked to use my phone to download the app onto it, and I wasn't okay with it, I didn't just shut her down and say no. I offered other solutions, and I tried to find other ways to be able to figure it out. She told me that she had tried to figure it out and was still having a hard time. I tried to continue to help her, and then she looked at me and said, I didn't ask for suggestions. I asked to use your phone, which I replied with, oh, okay, sorry. And then the subject was dropped. I could tell that she was upset about it, which is why I brought it up here. Also, as a side note, people think that I'm not being supportive towards her. I've helped her through her classes in the past. I've even tutored her and helped her study for her math class that she was able to pass last semester. I really love and support her. I think that's partly why I didn't want her just to take the easiest path and have an AI tell her what it was, despite the answer being in the previous lesson. I'm not trying to control her. I just want her to be able to look back and be proud of the way she did things. She's told me that in the past many times, she's not just my partner, she's my best friend, and we tend to push each other and make good decisions for ourselves. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. This will not help her learn if she's just getting the answer spoon-fed to her. I understand language learning can be difficult, and there are a lot of resources out there online for learning languages, but it will require more time and effort. It seems like she wants a fast and easy, here's how I can pass my coursework type of thing. But what's going to happen when the test rolls around, assuming it's not online and she can't bring the app in, she is going to be setting herself up for failure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest problem I have here is that if she doesn't know it now, then it's going to be hard for her and she's going to be relying on this technology as kind of a crutch. maybe flashcards. I don't know if that's going to be useful for her particular situation. Maybe she has studied flashcards and she's just having a really hard time. But, she can also talk to the school and ask for extra tutoring. She can find, hire a tutor. She can do any number of things here.
Yeah.
But I think that using the AI to get a quick solution so that she can finish her homework with what it kind of sounds like fast isn't going to help her in the long run.
No,
right?
it won't. And there's a lot of like cheap and free language learning apps like
Mm-hmm.
these days and YouTube videos. They could probably help her a lot with actually learning the language. And so, again, I think kind of reiterating, I think we both are on the same page that she really needs to do something that's going to actually gain the knowledge and not just like a quick, I'm going to, solve this one homework problem one time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's academic dishonesty too, like I understand again that it's hard for her, but there are all kinds of resources and you cannot engage in academic dishonesty. You need to genuinely or learn this language.
Mm-hmm. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Wife Not Everything is a Personal Offense Towards Her? I'm a 42-year-old male and I have a brother, a 44-year-old male. Objectively speaking, for his age, he looks pretty good. Good skin, full head of hair, all that. He doesn't live too far, so he comes over every now and then. My wife and I have an 11-year-old, very curious son. Last weekend when my brother came over, my son asked him why he's not bald, because it came up under his search suggestions on his laptop. The question was also because I guess he read that stress can cause male pattern baldness as well, and my brother works a fairly stressful job. Well, my wife got mad at his response to the question, because he said, yeah, but I'm not married, so I don't have to come home to anyone who bothers me. My son just said okay, and then went to do whatever. But later, my wife said that she did not like my brother's remark because she thought that it was sexist. But I don't think that he meant it like that. And I told her that she doesn't have to take offense to every single thing that could possibly be about her. The discussion kind of fizzled out after that, and then she just turned around and went to bed. But she just seemed kind of annoyed by me the following morning. Am I the jerk? Also, I have a full head of hair too. That's why I don't really think that it was that serious. All right, folks, what do you think?
Yes, OP, you're the jerk, and I would like to hear what other interpretations you have for this other than wives are nags and ruin people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like OP agrees with the brother here, right?
He's like, you don't have to take offense to like anything that could possibly be about you. So it seems like OP's even like taking this a step further and not in women in general, but my wife specifically is a problem here.
I think that this was kind of a cruel remark, and I think that the brother should be called out for this, right? Because it was a very pointed remark. It kind of like saying this to the son in front of the wife, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about coming home to a nagging wife. Like her, is basically what it kind of sounds like, right?
Exactly. There's an insinuation there that wives are the problem.
And so I don't think that OP is thinking about this from their wife's perspective. I think that this was a unnecessary remark, and I think that the brother does need to be called out for this, and I think that it is sexist.
And I think it's teaching the son the wrong lesson, too.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely teaching the son the wrong thing, because now he can learn this casual sexism and be like, those women folk, they're just such nags, they make men's life stressful, right?
Like ideally in a relationship, you should be with someone who doesn't make your life stressful.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, stressful things do happen in life, and I think, especially if you have kids, like there are a lot of pressures that come from having to take care of this mini human that are unavoidable.
Well, that's just it. It's like being a parent is stressful, right? So if he had been like, well, kiddo, I don't have a family and kids and stuff like that, and kids and a family can be a really stressful thing, and explain it kind of in a situation like that, maybe that might be a little more acceptable, but I think like just the general jabs at that kind of stuff would probably come across poorly no matter what.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still think like, instead of just being like, oh, well, I mean, it's genetics, because really, that's the biggest...
most of the time it is genetics,
That's the
right?
biggest factor. Like, yes, stress can cause hair loss.
Yeah.
But the biggest factor in whether, men will lose their hair or not to male pattern baldness is genetics.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. You're the jerk with zero self-awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty well put, Wheel.
I think the wheel has had a long enough vacation and is, coming back with some better takes on the situation. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Why didn't the invisible man buy a house?
Well, it's because they couldn't find a realtor, because anytime they walked up to the realtor and like, hey, can I have a tour of the house? They thought that it was a ghost and not an actual like person. And so basically now, anytime they go around to places, they can just like haunt them. And so that's why.
He couldn't see himself living there.
I mean, for this book, that's not a bad one.
Brian's like, the bars and how.
And I have more of that peach tea. It's a good peach tea. I like it. I actually do like this tea a lot. I think that, I was like, what kind of tea could I possibly have? And I was like, peach tea. The Celestial Seasoning Peach Tea. And folks, today is a very special day. It's Real Estate Agent Day. So if you're a real estate agent, make sure to go out there and tell everyone to go clean up their yards. Be like the new HOA.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Terrific Tuesday, spelled TWO. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on casual sexism.
Call out casual sexism.
I think that's good advice. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.